Hey, it's Captain Rusty Rivers coming to you once again. Well, I was looking at my Coast Guard hat that one of my best buddies, that's a captain in the Coast Guard, gave me when I got my captain's license. This is not the original hat that he gave me. In fact, let's see, I think he gave me this one I guess 2 years ago. I can't remember. But I usually pick one up from him. He gives me a new one every single year. And it kind of got me thinking about stuff. How everything is always in a state of deterioration. Yeah. Me and Daddy Rivers just left one of my rental properties. You know, houses are always deteriorating and always need work. Then I got to thinking about my relationships with my tenants and how when they first move in, man, we are best friends. And then slowly over time, that relationship deteriorates. In fact, I think over the 30 years that I've been in the rental business, I think I've only had maybe 2 tenants the entire time over that 30 years that more or less we maintained the same relationship that we had when they first moved in versus when they moved out. It's funny too. I was just talking with my dad about a phrase that my dad came up with, I don't know, 20 something years ago. I remember it was a conversation I was having with him about how a tenant did me dirty, how they betrayed me and destroyed the house on the way out, and it was just bad. And my dad reminded me, he said, son, a renter is a renter is a renter. He said, the day they move in is the day they're moving out. And he says, you always need to keep that in mind. And then I got to thinking today, you know, in that general way of thinking about life and deterioration and how, well, I said everything, but I guess there are some things that don't deteriorate with time. For those of you that are believers in Christ, like I am, I think God's eternal love is probably one of the few things that never deteriorates. Time, it stands on the outside of time. And I got to thinking about maybe some other things that don't deteriorate over time. Like if you're building something, like your reputation, you know, only if you do something stupid or circumstances change, maybe your reputation deteriorates. But like for a man's reputation, I think it's a building process. I don't know. Tell me what you think. I'm sure there's some other examples of things that don't deteriorate. But I was thinking about romantic relationships between men and women and how they, especially today, deteriorate in a lot of cases rapidly. And I got to thinking about in my dad's time, relationships didn't deteriorate like that. You know, sure that some deteriorated. Some took a lot longer to deteriorate as opposed to relationships today. But there's always factors that are involved in deterioration. The environment might change. like getting back to houses, like weather, depending upon the type of weather. And like if you're in an area that's got a lot of acid rain, you're going to have accelerated deterioration, or you got a section of your house that's more exposed to the rays of the sun is going to deteriorate a lot faster than other parts of your house. So it's like all these different variables come into the deterioration of things. And I think relationships are like that too. Like getting back to my dad's time, a lot of relationships were isolated or on the outside of deterioration because there were factors and circumstances that were removed back then that are present today, and they affect relationships. I'll tell you the biggest factor that has contributed to the rapid deterioration of relationships, this thing right here. This didn't exist during my father's time. And this thing, the cell phone, social media platforms, the whole 9 yards, talk about one of the biggest factors that affects the deterioration of relationships. It's staggering. In a lot of ways, as a man, when you come to the realization that this deterioration is omnipresent, okay? I mean, look, we're all deteriorating. It's called the process of dying, okay? I mean, physically, all right? So there's always deterioration present, but when you're a man and you come to the realization that deterioration is like omnipresent, especially in relationships, that's a very black-pilled way of looking at life. So maybe the realization and the acceptance of this constant omnipresent deterioration, maybe that really is black pill. Now, personally, I don't consider myself to be black pilled because although I might recognize that this state of deterioration, especially amongst relationships, exists, I always have this incredible future optimism that is present, always looking forward to the next big thing, the next big good thing. And I've been that way all my life. I will tell you this, and especially if you watched any of my other videos, I have had incredible lows in my life. Everything from going to prison to having cancer, to divorce, to breakups, to incredible betrayal. Okay? But with all of those incredible lows, they always slingshotted me to incredible highs. And I think that's where my futuristic optimism comes from. So I could be black-pilled in the sense that I understand that most things are constantly in a state of deterioration, but I'm always looking forward to the future.